This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Shalom Aleichem. Today we have the great zechus to learn about the ois Hey and Vav. Now, the ois Hey is a very important letter. Hashem created the whole world with the letter Hey. Ki b'ka Hashem tzur olamim. Olam haba is a yud, olam hazeh is a Hey. So this whole world, everything that you ever knew, saw, experienced is all a Hey. So if you want to know about life, then you get a Hey. Okay, so thank everybody for joining. Wherever, maybe you're in Eretz Yisrael, maybe
on the way.
Could you hear me? Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, you can hear me. Everyone can hear me. Okay. Okay, so we're now learning the oitei. Here we go. Let me get up the Maramakoimos. Okay, share screen. Attaboy. Okay, says the Mishna Berura. Ois hey tzarich lasos la l'chadchila tag katan lamala mitzad small. The ois hey, we need to make a small tag above on the left side. Okay, that's over here. You see it, everyone? That's over here. You make a tag katan l'tzad small. That's over here. Uva achareha, and behind it, yizoher l'chadchila shetehei merubas kedaled. And behind it, you should be careful l'chadchila that it should be square like a dalet. So it should be square like a dalet. You see this? It's not rounded like a resh, square like a dalet. The only thing is, v'lo agula karesh, not rounded like in diagram 2. The only thing is, you don't have to make that heel that a dalet has, that extra stick that comes out. The ein sarach lasis la akev kamoid bedalet, and you don't have to make it a heel like the dalet. Rak shatia ois chada. It should just be a small point. Okay, so the corner of the hay, you should make it like a heel in the top right hand corner, and okay. V'hanekuda shebesoicha. Now the nekuda refers to the upside down yud under the hay. Loy teya smucha lagaga. It should not be near the roof. Okay, the nekuda shebesoicha should not be near the roof. Elo yehi beinehem chalak kol kach b'chdei she'adam beinoni yakirenu heitev me'al sefer Torah. It should be enough space that an average person could recognize it well from on top of the Sefer Torah that's on the bima when you read it. Okay? So in other words, there should be enough space over here that a typical Baal Koreh should be able to read it when he's reading it from on top of the bima. V'lo yarchika migaga yoser me'oivei hagag. You should not make it distant from the roof more than the width of the roof. So the roof is 1 kolmos. Remember, a kolmos is the width of the pen. There should not be more space between the upside down yud and the roof, more than 1 kolmas. V'imnaga begaga, if it's touching the roof, afilu negia daka, even a small touching, kechud hasara, like a hair's breadth, psula is pasal. Afal pisha hatinoik yoidea shuhu hey, even though a child knows that it's a hey. Kedal el b'simen lamed beis if yirches. V'chav hey ayin sham. V'loy tia hanekuda neged emtza hagag. The nekuda should not be. Now this is very important. This is very important. The nekuda, meaning the upside down yod, should not be in the opposite the midway point of the roof, but rather it should be opposite the end of the roof. Ela neged soifa b'tzad soifa. Now what if you messed up and you made the upside down yud in middle of the roof? V'imkasav hateva sha'achas. If you wrote the letters afterwards or the words afterwards, now you can't go back and rewrite the hey because of shaloi kasidran. Ve'en yachal asakin mishon shaloi kasidran. So what do? You scrape off yigror hagag sheishav l'regel. You hear what you do over here? What you're going to do is, let's say you made it like this. So there's a very simple solution. Now, if you didn't write further, so just rewrite it, erase it and rewrite at the end. But if you wrote further, then what you'll do is you'll scrape off the top of the hay. Now, I don't understand why that's okay. Because to me, that's chak tuchais. Yeah? To me, you're not doing anything to the guf ha'ois. You are merely scraping away, unless that's called doing something to the guf ha'ois. When do we say chak tuchais is a problem? That's if there's something extraneous on the ice, and by scraping it off, you render it okay. But here, you're doing something to the etzem ice. I don't have clear why this is not chak tuchais. Maybe if somebody has insight into this.
Then why is it not like a sidron? Even if it's not chak tuchais, why is it not like a sidron?
Why is it not shaloi kisidron? Okay, good question also. Meaning he said you wrote letters afterwards, so you can't erase and then rewrite. So then why is this not a problem of shaloi kisidron? It sounds like shaloi kisidron is a problem in writing, but here you're not writing, you're erasing, right? In other words, it sounds like shaloi kisidron is v'hayu hadramela. The v'hayu is in the kesiva, but here you're not writing. Okay,
that leads to the chak tuchais kasha. That's
right. That emphasizes that question. Again, what I'm saying is that maybe here it's called doing something to the guf ha'is, because you're not erasing something extraneous, but you're erasing the gag. But I'm not sure. I don't have a clarity in why this is not an issue of chak tuchais. Uvemakom shegam tikun zeinu yachalasis. For example, kagon shehei be'emtza hateva. Let's say the hey is in the middle of the word. Let's say the word le'ahava. So what are you going to do? You're going to erase. It's going to be le'aba. Vim yigrar hagag yeh kishtei tevois. Azay yesh lahachshir b'loy tikun. Then we'll say it's good. It's good. Why? Because many poskim hold this is okay. Which might be the reason why there's no issue of shaloi kisidron, and there's no issue of chak tuchais. If you're going to listen carefully, if you're going to, let's say you wrote it here, you want to erase it and then rewrite it, that's shaloi kisidron. But if you want to erase something, which is good according to many poskim, it's just you want to be machshured according to the poskim that it's not good. I don't know, for some reason that gets around shaloi kisidron chak tuchais. Not sure. Why is that okay? Yesh ashabay taken ki yesh harbe me rishonim shesayrim shetmunas hey kach. Many rishonim hold this is the image of the hay. Ayin b'chedushay harashba al Shabbos kuf gimel b'chedushay haritva sham uverashba hanitfas mechadash sham anachas dav chav tes uveran the parak haboina uvechedushay meiri uvechedushay haran hanitfas mechadash al Shabbos parak haboina sham muchach lahedya midaitam sham tmunas hay kach. It's muchach from them that's what a hay looks like. Va'ata nevar echos hanakuda. Now we're going to explain the echos, the quality of the dot under the hay. Okay, so let's start. Hanakuda tia lecharchila daka lamala. The nakuda should be thin above, like in diagram 11 aleph, should be thin above. Va'avak sasamata, a little bit thick on the bottom, like the bays in diagram 11. Ke'in yud, basically it's an upside down yud. V'tia lechatchila akuma ktsas lamata. Lechatchila, it should be a little bit bent. You see in diagram 12, it's not completely flat. It's sort of bent, and it's on an angle. Uletzad yamin, to the right side. V'loy letzad smile. So it should be bent to the right side and not to the left side. Pen to damel a tough. Maybe it'll be compared to a tough. Maybe it'll be compared to a tav. Okay, now let's talk about the length of the nakuda. V'oirech hanakuda, the length of it, lo yivchas gam k'mei orach yud. It should not be less than the length of a yud im ukotz hatachtoin, with the lower thorn, shala, ula ikuva hu afilu b'diavad. That's an akev even b'diavad. So that's number 13. So, here, look at number 13. It should not be less than basically one komas. Okay. You have to warn Sofrim that they're very much nichsha on this. I'm assuming that in diagram 13, this one is not good. I guess this one is too short, meaning it's not a full. Let me look in the actual. Yeah. In other words, it sounds like a yud with its uketz is a little bit more than one kolmas, and here it's less than a kolmas. The nearly the al kapanim tikkun mahani mazeh. By the way, I was at a bris this morning, so I brought this Mishna Berura with me. I was just looking it over before when I had a few moments, and someone came over to me, and he told me that he was the author's chavrusa in Eretz Yisrael, and he happened to be in the shul. He's here in America. He's a Rebbe in Neve, and he happened to be in America now. And I asked him if he could get. I said I didn't know they had Pe'er Halacha on Hilchos Tzitzis. Apparently, they have it on Hilchos Tzitzis. Anyway, v'nirali the al kapanim mahani tikkun mahani mizah. Al kapanim tikkun helps. Afilu b'tfilin u'mezuzos. Even for tefillin u'mezuzos, im hatinoi kairei lahei. If a tinoi calls it a hay. Vein bazeh mishum shaloi kasidran, and it's not considered shaloi kasidran if the child, if you fix it. Dumya demashek al primagam masakin kaf pshuta masar meruba lahaysav diyaya Allah. Similar to what the Pri Megadim is makel to fix a regular kaf if you made it square to add some ink. Okay, ha Pri Megadim is simin lamed beis of katan lamed gimel mistapik. Im tzarch liyos hanakuda b'soifa shava davka liyarech yamin ayafilim nishlama be'emtza yarech shaperdami. Okay, very interesting suffix of the Pri Megadim. This upside down yod in the hay does it need to be davka on commensurate with the right leg of the hay, or is it okay if it ends in the midway point? As long as it's long enough, meaning it's big enough to be an upside down yod, it just doesn't end commensurate with the other leg. At the very least, it will seem that you could be mako by the kriya of the tinaik. If a tinaik reads it as a hey, it will be okay. Look later on in the din of a reish that you made it short like a vav. Okay, Rabbi Sai friends, you ready to do vav? Here we go for the vav. Ois vav. By the way, we know in this week's Parsha, Hashem made the degalim for Klal Yisrael. The reason why we have the degalim is it's keneged the degalim of the 22,000 malachim in Shamayim. But there's a connection between the 22 malachim and the 22 oisios of the Aleph Beis, with which Hashem created the world. The Baruch of Mezbish, I think he says, Bereshis bara like him es. First, God created the Aleph to the top. Then, through the oisios of the Torah, Hashem created the whole world. So, in the beginning, Hashem created these oisios, and you could be sure every detail of every ois has significance. It's in terms of the world. You know, if you're missing a tag, you're missing one nakuda, it affects the whole world. It needs to be short and not long. Now, short and not long means it should be one komas long and not, let's say, 1.5, like a reish. Kadesh to dam so it doesn't look like a reish. Varagla orech, the leg should be long. Beis komas, it should be 2 komas long, okay, like in this diagram. So it's not like a yod. You don't want to make it too long. because pentadam latinek lanun, it might look to a child like a final nun lanun pshuta. Umitam ze gam kein toiv shatia roisha agula letzad yamin. For the same reason, it's good for the head to be rounded toward the right side, like in diagram 4 Aleph. Why? Because if it's not rounded, shalei tadam el zayin, so it doesn't look like a zayin. You'll say this is not a zayin, this is a vav. Zayin has a head sticking out on the right side. Even though the head of the zayin passes on both sides, shema tinoik delay chakim delay tipish yikraena zayin v'tifsa. You could be concerned, maybe a child that's not wise and not foolish will read it as a zayin and will be puzzled, even though it doesn't really look like a zayin, but maybe it could be misconstrued by a child for a zayin. It should be straight, like your father would tell you, stop slouching. The head of the vav should be looking forward, not bent over, not diagonal. The legs should be straight down, equal, like in diagram 6 bays. Even though it's not severed, but it's sort of staggered. It should progressively get sharper and sharper, like in diagram 7. Imregel havav kotzar. If the leg of the vav is short, like in diagram 8, if it's only one komas, it's going to be pasal. If it's a little bit more, you're going to have to show it to a child. The same thing would be if the head is a little bit too wide and it looks like a reish, like we saw in diagram 1, like in this picture. In Kosav Daled Makam Vav, let's say you wrote a Daled instead of a Vav. You're going to have to scrape the whole roof. The whole roof. If you wrote a Dalet instead of a Vav, you have to scrape a whole roof. I say, well, I have to scrape the whole roof. Why can't I just scrape off the extra? Let's say I'll scrape off 2 kulmasim worth, and then I'll be left with a vav. That's chak tuchais. That's chak tuchais. We said earlier, this is not chak tuchais. One distinction that is, I don't know if this is correct. Over there, you wrote a daled. So if you wrote a daled, never did you write a vav. Here, I wrote a hey. I just didn't write the hey properly. I didn't write a different letter. I wrote a hey. It's just I didn't meet the requirement of hey. Okay, but that's also an interesting question. Why is that not chak tuchais? Mendy, write down that question, okay? What's the difference between diagram 10 by the hay and diagram 9 by the vav? Why do you have to erase the whole thing? Okay. Im regel havav katzar. Okay, where am I up to? Oh, in kasav daled b'makom vav. Sach ligra kol agag. B'afshir d'bay nam ligra kol hayarech. It could be you also have to scrape the whole leg. The doimel daled shekasu b'makom reish. It's similar to a daled that you wrote in the place of a reish. Okay, one second. Where am I going here? Shetzach limchay kulay. It's like if you wrote. It's similar to a daled that you wrote in a place of a reish. that you have to erase the whole thing. Okay, let's try to understand this. If somebody wrote a daled in the place of a resh, you gotta for sure erase the top. You can't just scrape off the top right-hand corner, right? That's not going to do a job. You can't just scrape off the top right-hand corner because that's chatuchais. That's you're making a resh without writing a resh. But you also have to erase the leg. Why is this only efshar? Why would, in other words, why wouldn't you obviously have to, if you're trying to write a resh and you wrote a daled, we say you have to scrape off the bottom, so why not the same thing? You're trying to write a vav and you wrote a daled, why wouldn't you have to scrape off the bottom? What would the difference? Why is it only v'efshar?
He says in the gray part over there in ice 10, in the picture 10.
Yeah.
He says the ben agag ben yarach nasu bepisol kiva shederach sivasu b'ksiva achas. The derech siva was not done properly because you don't make a dalet, you don't make a resh that way.
Yesh Yesh lahachmer v'lomer do sag yeshur harach lavad oyagavad v'yasu in come in. Yezav v'lomer do sag yeshur harach lavad oyagavad v'yasu in come in reish mishum the ben agag ben yarach yinasu v'pizol okol so l'gershim kim shadak sivasu b'ksiva achas, and by vav not. You would think.
Oh, the same thing by Avav. The same thing by Avav.
Right,
he's comparing it to.
No, I'm saying. So why does the Mishna Sofrim say it could be you have to erase the whole thing? Why would it not be you do?
Oh.
Unless let's look back in Shulchan Aruch and Siman Lamed Beis. Maybe because in Lamed Beis it's also efshar. It's not any different. It's just there also. It's not definitive. Lamed Beis Yud Ches. Okay, we're going to hold it over here. Thanks for hanging in there, everyone. I wish you all a wonderful day.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.